Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the fourth installment of the Mental Takedown. This episode, we have 65-kilogram Pennsylvania RTC athlete Ethan Lizak join us. Ethan is a two-time Pennsylvania state champion, three-time NCAA All-American, and NCAA finalist at 125 pounds in 2017. In this episode, we talk about the chaos that surrounds the senior level circuit now with the uncertainty around the Olympics and Worlds and how he has been using this time off to help him adjust to a different weight. We also reminiscence on his wonderful college career and his unorthodox style in choosing top every single match. Backpack Lizak for the win. Without further ado, enough of me. Roll the clip. And so now we have three-time NCAA All-American and current PRTC athlete training to go to the Olympics this upcoming summer, Ethan Lizak, with us. How are you doing, Ethan?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. And how has kind of this, obviously we have quite an interesting time that I guess all these Olympic hopefuls couldn't have seen coming. How has kind of this new environment around just life in general affected the way you go day to day?
Um, I guess with like a lot of the resources my family has provided me, it's given me like a little bit of a time to get a little head start. I've just been, trying to hit my cardio and lifting 5, 6 times a week and just really kind of try and grow out and fill out to 65 kilos. So I've been trying to lift a lot, just stay healthy and looking forward to get back on the mat whenever I can. So just always staying ready because I think probably start up again um in the fall and stuff. So I'm just trying to make as much gains and improvement as I can right now because this is the time to do it.
Yep. And as athletes, did y'all know kind of inside the loop before kind of the general public knew that like kind of this was impending and y'all kind of knew beforehand that, everything was about to change?
Um yeah, I kind of figure that they'd cancel a lot of the senior level stuff once they cancel NCAs. So we kind of found that out like probably a day before, like when we actually found out. So I kind of had an idea, but I mean, we've been still staying in touch with a lot of the PRTC guys. We've been doing a lot of like film every like Thursday, just watching some film with the coaches. So we've all been, staying in touch, trying to stay as safe as we can with this whole virus thing going around. So, I mean, I'm not sure when we'll get together again and actually start practicing and stuff. But I mean, I think once stuff starts opening up the next couple weeks, we'll start getting back into it.
Nice. So you obviously grew up in Pennsylvania, wrestled your whole high school career there. Does it has the wrestling scene kind of changed since you went to Minnesota for 5 years? It's just like for somebody that goes to college out of state and then comes back home, is it kind of, are there any cultural differences that you're kind of just now, obviously you've been back for a year now, but
Hmm.
are there any cultural differences between kind of the two wrestling states or the atmospheres that you're kind of just not relearning, but getting to know again?
Yeah. Um, I think just, I mean, one of the big changes is my family's from Pennsylvania, so I just began to spend a lot more time with them now. But I mean, I feel like between the two, just going to a Big Ten school, they always, I mean, no matter where you go, I mean, wrestling is going to be tough. Like usually on those, once you start those Big Ten conference matches, you're facing like a top 20 guy in the country every week. So, I mean, it's been, very, very big in Minnesota too. So I don't think there's that much of a change, but I mean, I think just in high school in Pennsylvania, it really prepares you because with Minnesota, they have, I think, like a 4-class system. So it's a little more like spread out, whereas like Pennsylvania, you only have 2 classes. So a lot of the like top guys are just kind of grouped in together, and you get like a lot of good competition. Because I remember in high school, I wrestled a lot of the guys who are doing pretty good at NCAAs, like Vincenzo Joseph,
Yeah.
Michael Kemmer. I wrestled a lot of those guys in high school. So kind of always been, used to wrestling big competitions. So I think just growing up in Pennsylvania has really helped me, getting used to wrestling that tough competition, whereas some other places in the country, you might not. So,
All right. And having been back with the PRTC, this is kind of the first year that you don't have to cut an insane amount of weight because the the way they set up the Olympic system, and you're going 65. Does that kind of change the way you go about day to day, or does that just make things a whole lot easier?
yeah, it's kind of been a lot easier just because I don't have to spend that extra time, managing what I eat as much. I'm just kind of focused more right now on like lifting and trying to get bigger. But I'm not sure what I'll end up doing next year because, I mean, depending if they have Olympics or Worlds, I mean, if they have Worlds, I'll probably try and go 61 kilograms, which is, I think, like 34 and a half, 134 and a half. So I'll probably make a little cut down to there. But I mean, right now, yeah, I've just been kind of trying to focus on getting stronger and, work on my technique, whereas I don't have to spend as much time on like my dieting and, getting extra workouts in just for the weight management portion. So I think that's kind of helped me a lot, just focusing more on the technique and just getting stronger, you know.
And like obviously in college you have 10 weight classes, a whole bunch of teammates, and a lot of times what people go throughout the season heavily depends on what their team needs and what their team has. Does an RTC usually run the same way in a sense, or do you all have multiple kind of athletes
Um,
that go the same way?
I'd say, yeah, like college, it's more trying to fit like a lineup a little bit because there are times we have a couple tough guys at like one weight class, so then one has to end up going up or down or something and jumping around. But with the RTC, it's kind of more of, I mean, you still have a little bit of the team aspect, but it's more of like you and focusing on your career. So, I mean, we also had Joey going at 65, so we both kind of wrestled. But now that it's going to be a world year, they'll have 61 kilograms again. So I'll probably end up dropping down. That's what, I mean, the PRTC is kind of trying looking to do is fill out a lineup. So for Worlds, you have 10 weight classes. So we're trying to, fill up as much as we can since the past year we've had a couple guys, retire and leave. So we're trying to reload, get some good guys in at the PRTC and stuff, get going again.
And kind of was that the coaching staff at PRTC, was that one of the reasons why you came back? Because I know you have been with Slay on World Team, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I kind of always had a good relationship with Slay, and I mean, my younger brother also goes to Penn, which is where the PRTC is. So I've been rooming with him, which is nice. Getting back in touch with some of my family, and had a really, I'd say, close relationship with the coaches and stuff. So I think it was a good fit, and I like what they stand for, what our team motto is of like helping out the community and ecosystem of Philadelphia with their wrestling. So, I mean, they got Beat the Streets there, which is an organization of
Yeah.
in Philly of kids. After school, sometimes they don't have something to do, so they'll they'll run like clinics and wrestling practices for them. So it's kind of just trying to get more people involved in the sport, which I think is a really good thing that the PRTC helps with.
And how's the process of kind of getting involved in getting people involved that maybe necessarily think that wrestling is this kind of barbaric, vicious
Yeah.
sport that they don't want to touch because it looks quite intimidating?
Um, yeah, I think it's a sport that's not for everyone, but I think just one of the major aspects that really got me into wrestling was the close relationships you have with people as you learn the sport and grow. And I've had a lot of good mentors in my life with just wrestling, like my coaches growing up, and they've kind of really shaped who I am. I think it's a good sport. It's you're the only one out there. It's a tough sport. So, if you lose or something bad happens, it's on you. And I think it's something that really helps you grow and learn a lot from the sport. Just, you know, being out there, having to grit through some of the tough matches and stuff, it helps prepare you for later in life and stuff. And once you wrestle, you kind of realize, like, oh, I went through like tough days cutting weight and getting my schoolwork done and stuff. So that like later in life you just look at stuff, you're like, oh, this isn't that hard, I could do this.
Nice. And how engaged is kind of the PRTC with Penn? Because I know you had mentioned that your brother goes there and Penn's kind of building a program. Do they often call on you guys to kind of not act as coaches, but, just kind of be around the team?
Yeah, so some of our, depend on the days, like Mondays it's usually more of like PRTC guys, but some of the days later in the week, like Thursday or Friday or stuff, we'll go matches and wrestle with the guys. And if I'm wrestling with someone and I notice like them not like defending a shot right or something like that, I'll kind of point out some tips. And I one way that helps me learn is helping teach other guys, and it kind of makes you have to think of like, oh, what's the best way to explain this move to this guy. And it sometimes, like through doing some of the camps over the summer, I've kind of like learned some small details that I do that I don't necessarily think about, and it kind of helps me focus on that more and kind of just expand my wrestling too. So I mean, just helping some of those guys, it really helps you learn too. And we've been, practicing with the guys a lot, and it's been helping.
And how has kind of you obviously wrestled college for 5 years and you've been through the highs and lows of college wrestling. How has kind of your personal experiences shaped the way you kind of teach people, not only on the mat on a specific move, but kind of in between matches and how to deal with certain things, all the things that come within a season?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I know as I got later in my career, I'd go some of the opens, and some of the younger guys would ask me with questions and stuff, just how to deal with certain things throughout the season. And I mean, I think through like my college career, I've went through a lot just with like the coaches, certain situations on the team and stuff. So, I mean, I've pretty much seen it all. So, I mean, if someone has a question, I kind of try and use my past experiences and think back to those and what I've done that's worked, what have I done that's failed, and just trying to help guys the best that I can with whatever they ask me and stuff.
Now, obviously, I wouldn't have you on if I wouldn't talk about the now infamous nickname, the backpack. If you don't know what that is, where have you been for the past 5 years?
Yeah.
But you kind of exclusively started to choose top, especially your junior and senior year. Is that something that was consciously decided, or just kind of intuitively like just happened every match as you got later in your career?
Um, think as I got later in my career and I've shown that I've been able to, ride out and turn the best guys in the country, that I kind of got more confidence with choosing top and just being in that position. And I felt like, no matter who I went against, I was able to at least ride them out, possibly get some back points and some turns. So I kind of just, I think the big year that really helped me develop the backpack was my redshirt year, when J Rob used to have us do crazy stuff like hour long goes, stuff like that. And I'd be wrestling for an hour straight, and I'm not a type of guy that wants to be wrestled on my feet. So majority of the time I'd spend on top, and I just, play around and got like a little better feel of like how guys would react and how I could get them to react a certain way that would put me in a good position, again with the backpack or suck back. And I think that's what kind of really helped develop my top game. And then as my career went on, I would just, if some guy got out earlier in the season, I'd kind of look back and think of, oh, what did he do? What can I do to counter that? And I kind of just always, focus on trying to improve my game. And so that when I chose top, at nationals and stuff, like the tournament that really mattered, I would be able to ride guys out and get the turns when I needed to.
And do you think that why do you think that like the major almost everybody, I don't have any statistics off the top of my head, but they intuitively just choose bottom over and over and over again? Is it just kind of a thing that's been widely accepted across the college wrestling community that maybe should be changed or
Yeah. I think just growing up, like a lot of your coaches always say, hey, choose bottom. If you get out, that's like a free point pretty much. But I think with college now, because the difference between high school and college is they have that 1 minute riding
right?
time. So I think in college now, people are being more cautious of like who they're wrestling. Like, oh, is this guy a good top wrestler? Then I might think about choosing neutral, so that, if they choose bottom and they give up a minute of riding time, that's a point for the other guy. So I think a lot of guys have just been trying to stay mindful of that. And just, a lot of times, like, coaches have you spend a lot of time on bottom and just work on getting out of bottom, because if you get really good and you're explosive, you could get out in like 10 seconds, and that's a free point. So I think just me in college, a lot of guys, you know, focus. I think that's the one big difference between high school and college is the the best guys in the country could get on bottom when they need to. And that's a big difference sometimes in those 3-2 matches. An escape point can win a guy the match. So I think just getting good on bottom is a big thing to have in college.
And is it just that hard to because if you think about it from a mathematical standpoint, if you even get like a 2 point near fall on top, that should be more worth more than the escape. But is it just
Mhm.
like psychologically that difficult to think that you would be able to turn, let's say, like a top 10 guy in the country per se?
Yeah. Yeah, because those top 10 guys, when they get set, they're going to be ready to go and explode off the whistle. So just as a top guy getting set, you really have to be ready right there when you get set. And some guys, they get a lucky jump too. So and the refs don't catch it all the time. So you have to be really prepared. Just thinking back to me, like when guys got out on me, it was always like the first 5 or 10 seconds. That's the hardest point to hold a guy down. And once you get that first breakdown, usually you could ride him out for a minute, 2 minutes if you have to. But I think the biggest thing is just really being ready to go off the whistle, getting that first breakdown. And then kind of once that happens, you kind of just I would just kind of flow and flow, and then I'd pick my opportunities here and there. Like I wouldn't force them against the top guys because you start forcing stuff. That's when you give up reversals and start making mistakes and stuff. So I just kind of focus on going forward, get my forward pressure, and then depending on how the guy react, I'd usually just kind of end up in a situation where I feel like I got the guy and I'd be able to get my swipes on those best guys. But I mean, it wasn't necessarily like I would have something planned out, ready to go right from the whistle and stuff. You kind of just wrestle through it and figure out and feel what kind of positions you get in. And then from there, sometimes get a turner there if you catch them off guard.
And I'm assuming that's exactly the way you came back in that pitch match that will never leave my mind. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. I just kind of, I don't know. It was crazy. I try to like put the like coming back from that match like out of my mind because I knew if I focus on that like aspect too much, I mean, I'd start forcing stuff and then give up escapes and stuff. So I just kind of focus on, wrestling as technical as I can on top in that match and focus on going forward and just hoping I could put that guy in a position where he had to make a mistake. And I was able to do that. And that's kind of what helped me come back big in that match.
And when you're feeling like, when you know that you're almost there on the back points, are you kind of looking at the ref like, where is it?
Yeah.
Where is it? Where is it?
Yeah. Sometimes I'll be like, I mean, one of the things that towards later in my career, I would kind of know like, because I would recognize the refs. I'd have them a couple times throughout the year, and I could kind of tell which refs are more lenient with giving back points and which ones kind of really make you work for it and stuff. So, but yeah, in matches, sometimes I'd be look at the ref like, come on, man, swipe
It's
those.
there. And
Yeah.
how many like different officials per se that were there a lot that were kind of like, or was the like, well, I guess what's y'all don't have much of an interaction with the officials outside of the mat, but like eventually you do get to know them pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, there's a decent amount of officials, but like, I'm pretty sure the Big Ten have their like separate officials that I would kind of have like every match when I'd be at Minnesota, like towards January and February when we get in the Big Ten conference season. You kind of recognize those guys, and NCAAs, you have a lot of the same refs and stuff. But yeah,
And now what I was listening and what was super interesting was apparently that your very very last match of your college career, you there was quite a bit of drama just before that, no?
yeah, yeah. My last match, I kind of, I think it was 2 weeks before, like Minnesota weather. It's really cold and icy and slippery, and I slipped going into one of my steps into my house, and it's a concrete step, so I kind of just split my knee right open. And then I was kind of having to deal with that a couple days leading up to Big Tens and NCAs. And then last day of the tournament got infected kind of bad, and it was so swollen I couldn't bend my left leg. So I kind of had to go Greco stance or stand like straight up in my matches the last couple ones just to kind of because I couldn't bend my knee to get in a stance. So I just kind of had to do with what I could do. And yeah, that last match, like 5 minutes before, I was in the back getting my knee drained. So I was able to get like a little bit of movement in that last match. But I mean, it was tough the past like 2 or 3 matches, just trying to wrestle when I can't, get in a stance. So guys are kind of just getting in on doubles right away and stuff. I'm kind of have to, you know, scramble to get my takedowns, whereas like I can't really shoot that much. So it was just kind of tough having to go through that. But I mean, I kind of just tried to do what I could do.
And does it really help that you kind of have that fallback weapon that you can still turn guys, and that doesn't really, I mean, obviously it still requires your knee, but does
Mhm.
that kind of at least relax you just a touch to the point that it's, not
Yeah.
as chaotic?
Yeah, like I would kind of, because you're on top of the guy, and I mean, usually there I could keep my legs straight, so it wasn't too bad there. And I'm just so confident from that position that I knew I just had to get like the first takedown or in the first or second period, and then once I got on top, I'd be fine. So it's basically my strategy for the like last 2 or 3 matches I had to go through.
And there's just something about that tournament with the way I mean, the results speak for themselves. So when it gets to tournament season, it just goes up another notch, no?
Yeah, yeah, you kind of just, I mean, walking into the arena and stuff, you kind of get excited and stuff, and that excitement's what's helped me succeed at that tournament so many times. Just going in there and being like, "This is it!" Like nothing else in the year matters anymore. It's just how I finish at this last tournament. So I just kind of, you know, before every match, just focus on when I step out there, just give it everything I have. And I think that's what led me to a lot of the success I had at NCAs and stuff. So,
Nice. And kind of a fun one to kind of wrap up the show here. I'm just wondering, let's see here. Give me 1 second. How this how this came about. You specifically wore this in all your matches. How did that kind of come about your senior year?
um, yeah, there's this one guy from kind of my hometown area, and he designed shoes, and I was doing a camp for him, so he kind of helped hook me out. So I got the backpack with the lizard and the gopher shoes, and I always, whenever I go to wrestling tournaments as a kid, I play Pokemon in the stands and stuff. So that's why I have the Charizard kneepad. So
No.
yeah.
And do you dare wear that in a freestyle competition, or is that not
I
allowed?
probably, yeah, I'd probably get some new shoes with the PRTC logo on it now or something.
Right.
And the Charizard one got kind of destroyed in that one season. Just NCAAs is a long season, so the knee pad got all racked up, so I'm gonna have to get a new one.
Nice, nice, nice. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this, and I'm gonna let you go because you put up with me
Oh
long
yeah,
enough.
no problem. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
All right. See ya.
Yeah. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to the fourth installment of the Mental Takedown. Huge thanks to Ethan for doing this show. He was one of the first ones to respond to me when I first started watching wrestling a couple years ago. And of course, best of luck for your endeavors as a senior level athlete. And of course, if you did enjoy that episode, we are now on all of your favorite podcast platforms. A review, a listen, whatever you can do really does help the show out. I appreciate all the reviews, only some of them, only the good ones. No, just kidding, of course. And thank you so much for all the support. Be sure to follow along with our blog and take the journey with me as I try to figure out how to podcast on the fly with America's best wrestlers. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.